Because PEPFAR is built on a coalition of different interests, have you found that it's been harder to objectively approach more controversial prevention strategies like needle exchange and that sort of thing?
Yeah, needle exchange, I think, is a bigger problem in the American context. It's a big debate, okay? There are some countries, PEPFAR countries, and I probably should be better informed on this, where a lot of the problem is, in fact, injection drug problem. Vietnam, for example, which is a PEPFAR country, a significant amount of their AIDS problem is related to injected drugs. And I don't know what the policy is there. It hasn't been a huge debate. But clearly there were big debates on the A and B portions on the prevention side. And the initial PEPFAR bill actually had set-asides, earmarks, for A and B. And that was done to get conservative Republican support for the bill, it didn't bother me very much because, first of all, the set-asides were not, I don't think they were undermining the broader program, although they were controversial. And it certainly wasn't limiting the ability to give out condoms or other things in any of these programs. But it was, that was a political concession in a certain way to maintain the coalition. Okay. Now that changed in the reauthorization, where it went from essentially set-asides to kind of targets, okay, and gave more flexibility to the implementation of the program itself. Now, this issue of the religious institutions and their involvement in PEPFAR became an important one for those coalition reasons too, but also because religious institutions in these countries are often trusted social institutions. Okay? And there is a cultural aspect to this, because I want to paint it as though it was all just easy, because USAID is not really used to working with religious institutions in a lot of different contexts. So I remember Randy telling me the story that in Uganda, when they contract for prevention with outside groups, they and those decisions are made at the embassy level. USAID is a highly decentralized organization when it comes to making funding decisions. There were 13 of these, I don't remember exactly what it is, but like 13 of these programs that they had dealt with for 20 years. Okay? And Randy went to the local country director there and said, you have to come up with new partners. Okay? Religious people, Catholic groups, whatever, whoever's trusted in the community. And they came back the next year with the same 13 groups, okay? Because they're used to dealing with them. So we actually did an internal earmark called the New Partners Initiative that just said you have to have a portion of the people you contract with be new partners that you haven't dealt with before, community people. And so sometimes you have to force those changes because it's easy to do business in a certain way. I think right now that the reauthorization was a good example, because they toned down the mandate, and reduced it, which I think was important. This was in the latter days of the Bush administration. But it's a good example of something I hope can still happen, because this was during the campaign the reauthorization took place. And the leaders of the effort were George W. Bush, pushing for reauthorization of this 5-year program, and Joe Biden, who was the lead on the committee on this. And he was just fantastic in this debate. It's the middle of a campaign. You think we don't want to give our enemies issues and all this sort of stuff, but he was really good. And so you hope that can kind of happen.